good. All right.
Yeah. So what's your full name, bro?
My full name is Rup Sarkar.
Okay, so it's Rup. So they call you Rup.
They call me Rup.
Okay,
but
cool.
that's my full name. I never get called.
Yeah.
Typical, like, you know, brown family. Give you a whole name, never call you that.
We're gonna get into all of that, bro. Don't worry. We're gonna get into all of that. Just double check everything's good. All right, man. Bro, I appreciate it, man. I know we've been talking about fucking kicking it for a while, and I'm glad, man. I've always been following your journey as well, and yeah, man. It's just, you know, we'll get into a lot of the stuff I want to ask you. I know you'll have an answer for everything, bro. But talk a little bit about your journey, bro. I was just saying to you outside, everyone's physio, bro.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, especially athletes, like everyone, like, you know, and I think it's amazing, bro. Like, just the space that you're in, and, you know, like, I think, like, and, you know, we'll get into, like, even with Kambosos and being in camp, like, it's special, man, for you to be able to even just experience it and be in that environment. Like, when I was sitting and watching it, like, you know, we'll get into all the boys giving you shit. It was hilarious, fucking funny, man. Story after story. I'm like, and you know what it showed me? How many people I know that you know as well. You know what I mean? Yeah, bro. Especially in that world, I think. Yeah. But you know, like, I was just watching that. And I was thinking, man, like, there's no way, like, you know, you start doing this on the basis of thinking that you're going to experience something like that. You know what I mean? And I think that's special, bro. And I think, you know, you got so much ahead of you, you know, only being in your late 20s, but there's so much you've done already, man. You know, in my eyes anyway, just what you've experienced, the athletes you work with, and, you know, you can see the respect they have as well, man. Like I said, like, there's so many people I know that come and see you, you know what I mean? And it's special, man. And I'm glad, like, it's another brown skin brother too, you know what I mean? Yeah. But talk about your journey, bro. Talk about what got you. Were you something that you're always interested in? And were you born here? Were you born in Australia?
I was born here. Thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. I think I'm grateful. Like, we've been talking about this for ages, so about time.
Yeah.
In terms of my journey, like, honestly, it's not that special in the sense of how I got into physio. Yeah. So I grew up in, like, a typical ethnic family. I got two brothers, so we're three boys in our family. Like, my parents immigrated here in 94.
From?
Actually, pretty cool story. So my family's from India, Bangladesh. They went from there to Japan. I got two elder brothers who are 8 and 10 years older than me. Yeah, it was Japan, right? So my father's a nuclear physicist, really smart man. Damn. Yeah, crazy. So my brothers were 8 and 10 years old when they came here. When they came here, I was born, right? So 8 and 10 years, I was meant to be the girl of the family, and then fucking surprise, it was me. And then we grew up in Canterbury. And yeah, long story short, my two brothers are surgeons, right? So my father's smart, my two brothers are surgeons, and I did the whole typical, you know, 4-unit maths, physics, chem, English in high school.
Bro, you had some, you had a high bar, bro.
Like, it was
off the bat, like,
seriously, like, every time I talk to people, I'm like, it sounds almost privileged, but like, my expectations were so different. I grew up being like the typical, you got to be an engineer, a lawyer, a doctor. Now, when I finished high school, like, I did good, but I didn't do great. So I didn't get into medicine. I didn't get into, like, law school or anything. And so I was like, shit, what do I do now? And then I got an offer from Western Sydney to jump into physio. Yeah. So I did it. They were paying me. So I was like, all right, give me a scholarship.
At that point, did you have an idea of, like, what it was and what you were going to... No,
not at all, man. I think... So growing up through high school, I wanted to play cricket. Like, typical brown boy.
Yeah,
you
bro.
know what I mean? Like, that's all I did.
Till we realized, bro, it's a long Saturday. You're like, fuck this shit.
It was good until I realized I was like, I ain't good enough for this. It was that and my dad saying, you ain't playing cricket. I was like, fuck, all right. So cricket was off the table. I had no idea what I wanted to do. Didn't get into medicine. And I'm like, shit, what am I going to do? My first few years at uni, man, was exactly the same. I just fucked around. Like, just party, you know, just train, tracked, learned a lot about fighting when I was in uni. And then I guess what kind of transitioned from, you know, being a physio student that was kind of lost about what I wanted to do was we get to do a lot of placements in uni. So like, you know, our uni course is divided into the theory parts of things, and then you learn a lot more when you go to placements. And then I learned over there what I love best, and it's just working with people. You know, and placements you're doing in hospitals. So it's not really like, it wasn't like I was working with athletes full time or anything like that. But what I got to do was like, every day I go in. It might have been boring like clinically, but it was cool. I got to connect with people. And I realized like that's what I was good at. And then after that, like I guess how I found, like, honestly, how I found all my jobs is I've always just gone in and asked. I've never sent a resume in my entire life when it comes to physio. So in terms of how I started my physio journey, my colleague Rashan. Now we work in business together, we're colleagues. But initially, man, I was a third or fourth year uni student, and he had just started his practice or just bought the one that we have at Rockdale.
And he used to hit me up. Like, he used to hit me up with some of the guys that I was training with, and he'll ask me like, "Yo, man, can you put me?" He's done well, man. Both of you have done well. But man, I give him a lot of props. So I went in there, man. Like, just I'm a real believer. Just take the risk. Like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? You ask for something, someone's just gonna say no. So I walked in and I said, "Hey, man, like, I'm Rup. I'm a third year physio student, blah, blah, blah. Do you guys, are you expanding? Do you have any work for me? Blah, blah, blah." And then we created a journey that way. Did a little bit of work in shadow with him in my last year of uni. And then after uni, I got a part-time job with him. In my first 2 years of working, man, I had like 3 physio jobs. But I like to, I spread myself. So I learned clinically a lot in my first 24 months. I was working at, the Junior Dragons. I was working at a St. George clinic. I was doing some occupational work. I was working with Resh. And man, bit by bit, kind of grew, and then step by step, and we can go through it today. But that's just grown into, I've been a physio now 6 years, going on to my 7th year. And honestly, man, I think back on it, a lot's happened, and it just happened so quick. What was going back a little bit to your upbringing and just your family dynamics? Like, what was, I guess, your dad's feelings and even just feelings in general that you went down the path of physio? Because it's very they're going left, you just did a mad U-turn and went right. You know what I mean? But even just being able to see your success as well, right? Which we'll get into, just how you connected with all these different athletes, but. What was their feelings like? What was your dad's view on it? And you going down this path?
To be honest, man, I don't think they really had too much feeling about it. I think
as long as you were happy about it.
I think because I was a third of 3 boys, I think when I was born, I have a very friendly relationship with my parents. My brothers, it's quite interesting actually. My eldest brother has more of a classical, traditional, ethnic kind of dynamic. My middle brother's the golden child, and I'm just free flowing. I just fuck around with my parents. So when I got into physio, I think they knew that I didn't want to do physio, and they obviously wanted me to do medicine. So it's kind of I was pursuing something without a means to an end. I think they knew that though. My mum was a lot happier that I was doing physio because she's seen the toll that it takes on medicine. I got a lot of respect for my brothers. They're my idols. But to be a doctor ain't easy, man.
Bro.
It is not easy. They're studying constantly. They're away from home, man. My brother, they'll be operating 14 hours a day, come back, sleep 5 hours, do it again. And they do that purely on adrenaline. And if you think about it, they're literally sacrificing their lives to help other people. I didn't have that in me. I just wasn't interested anyway. In terms of how they feel about it now, to be honest, man, obviously they knew I was doing physio and I work private clinics and they know I work with athletes, but it actually didn't hit them what I actually do until George won his world title.
Many did.
Bro, it was so funny. My dad, he'll always have little jabs at me. So my brother, he finished surgical school maybe 2 years ago. And at his graduation, he was sitting next to me and goes, "Hey, you can still do medicine." I'm like, "Bro, Dad, come on, stop." And then when George won his world title, I remember this was so hilarious. Mum didn't know. Mum works with a lot of Greeks. And then Mum's doing the whole, "Hey, my son's in New York," or, supporting his friend. And she's showing him photos. And they're like, "Holy crap, is that George Kambosos?" Mum's like, "Who?" And they're like, "That's a world champion." And Mum's like, "Oh, that's my son." And my dad was the same. And then afterwards, my dad's like, "Hey, I'll send me some of the photos you got with you and George. I can send them to my friends." I'm like, this guy. So it took until one of my athletes or one of my friends wins a world title for my parents to recognize, I guess, what I'm really doing.
Yeah. It's, you know what though? It's a funny way for them to find out as well, right? Man. What was your connection? How obviously, you've built a bit of a profile for yourself as well, right? Just even with the number of athletes you work with, how did that connection come about, man? Because it's not there aren't physios around, you know what I mean? And it's not like there's real, you know, good physios around as well, man. Like,
Sure.
you know what I mean? So there is options, but man, it's just impressive. Like, you know, I know people that come to you, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so like, even like close people, like, and, you know, they always have high praise, right? What is it about the job? Like what? Because it's still, you know, you still gotta like, you gotta give a fuck about what you're doing, man. And
100.
especially like the pressure, like people don't understand, like there is pressure on you, bro, because these guys are going out there putting their fucking lives on the line, and they are coming to you dependent on you know what I mean? On literally feeling good, and their body feeling good, and, you know, feeling one with themselves, right? Like that pressure alone, and being able to have the type of people that come to you as well, the variety of people and athletes, that trust they have. Like, how did that come about, man? How did that start building the way it did to what it is now? Yeah.
I guess with that, I give a lot of praise to Resh, to be honest. Like, he opened the door for me. I walked through it, and I kind of like capitalized on the journey that I seen him do. So, for example, one of our OG clients is Tai. And that started with Resh. So, honestly, it's as simple as like how you approach me. Honestly, like a lot of it's just a lot of DMs, a lot of messages. Hey, let me help you. This is what I do. This is who I am. So he started that with Tai. He showed me like that's how he does it. I really wasn't interested in fighting when I finished uni. I guess when I saw him start working with Tai, both of us were kind of big fight fanatics. I started getting back into the sport. Then I realized, like, you know what, man, like I can help these guys. Like I can help these guys, girls, because there's not just a gap in the market. People don't really care about fighters. They don't know what they do. And fighters themselves are confused because they're not professionals. So I found like, hey, I can actually help these people. So it started as simply as, you know, Resh showing me like, hey, this is how I got with BAM. And it was honestly, hey, I've seen you get injured. This is what I do. I'd love to help. In terms of, I guess, how I've connected with people ongoing, it's the same thing. Like, it always started small. You know, I message those guys. They come in. I show them the value I can provide to them. Like, I definitely back my clinical skills. But like you said, there's a lot of good physios out there. And it's really easy, in my opinion, to be a good clinician. You read a few books, you do a couple of courses, you surround yourself with a couple of mentors, and clinically, you can be great. But I think what separates me is that, yeah, man, I really do care. I give a fuck.
It's the extras, bro.
Honestly, the extras, like, it's so interesting. Like, I think with any sports as well, right? Success leaves blueprints. And in our profession, it does as well. Like, there's a lot of evidence out there that says that patient outcomes is honestly dependent on how much rapport you have with the client. So it doesn't really matter, man. Like, there's no magic exercise, no magic program. Like, anyone that sells you that shit's lying to you. It's all about your connection. So, like, honestly, that's where I put a lot of my, like, effort and time.
I can tell.
So, when that happens, like, you create genuine connections. Like, I genuinely care. When I genuinely care, they care for me. They will listen to me. That leads to better outcomes with their bodies, their performance. You know, I work closely with a lot of, like, you know, multidisciplinary teams to make sure that we're looking after our athletes. You know, like me work well together at Ethos, but our whole journey is about, you know, the clients in the middle. How do we do our job to help them? And I think a lot of the people that I work with see that. The extras, man, like that's what counts.
Yeah.
You know, the late night messages, the, hey, like, you know, if it's a fighter, they might call you and be like, look, bro, I'm anxious about this. This is what's happening. What can I do? As a clinician, I'd be like, dude, relax, it's fine. Like, but that little phone call gives them that comfort. And from that comfort, they can then do their job. Man, honestly, like my advice to the young ones coming up in our profession is just care. Care and do the 1% is better than everyone else. Because I feel like that's what I do.
And I think you realize that that's all people need, bro. They just sometimes, you know, they're going through their own shit and they're figuring things out, and, you know, there's that they rely, you know what I mean? And it's just, sometimes it's just, hey, you're good, man. Everything's good. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just, it's human connection, bro. I keep saying it, man. Like, just, you know, it just allows you to even just network with different people. And it's just, yeah, man, I don't know. It's just a different way to look at it. You know what I mean? We live in a world where everything's just, you know, instant gratification, right? But it's just, these are the things that people don't see. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, perfect. Exactly what you said, man. Like, a lot of people, like, you know, after they see like my big profile clients, I guess they'll always ask me how I did that. But a lot of those people don't see a lot of the free work that I'd done, 100%. A lot of the time and like 14-hour days that I would spend in clinics, go to gyms and say hello. A lot of the pro bono stuff. Again, a lot of the messages, a lot of my personal time that gets put into my workplace. A lot of people see the fruits of what I've done, and I mean, I'm still hustling. Like, there's a lot of things I'm working towards.
100%.
I haven't stopped, but it's quite interesting. Like, people think everything that I've had done has happened overnight, and it hasn't. There's a lot of work behind the scenes.
100%. There's no doubt, man. What's your mindset like when you are dealing with all these? You know, because I can tell right now, bro, you must fucking listen to some mad shit. And the fact that you have a variety of people, they like. There'll be some, everyone's different, right? But like, and so like you would have to almost be a chameleon, bro. Like, you know what I mean? In how you deal with, because everyone's different. It's not everyone's one size fit all. Like, you know what I mean? You can't have the same mentality for everyone. So what's your mentality like when you are dealing with them? Especially like, we'll get to the whole like the Kambosos thing, just in terms of even just like knowing how big that fight was, and you have a big part to play in it, which I want to fucking savor it, get to it properly. But what is your mentality like, and what has this journey kind of taught you in how you have to be able to connect with people in different ways, and still kind of try to reach the same outcomes, you know what I mean?
Sure. I think my mindset with that, like, the outcomes are easy for me. The general base of it is I just care. Yeah. Like, man, to see me, you're paying a premium fee. So the way I look at it is, if you're coming to see me for half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, and you're paying me X, Y, Z, I need to make sure that when you leave, you're happy to tell your mom, your father that, hey, I got my values worth. So that's how I compartmentalize it. It's like, it's not, oh shit, I got 4 people. It's okay, these are 4 people, I need to treat X, Y, Z. It is like, sometimes you got to mix and match your personalities. Sometimes I get 3 people who are happy, jolly, and it's easy work. But then sometimes it's a lot more emotional, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. I got to meet them halfway. But that's
depends on where they're at they rehab or what kind of injury it is, right? You're correct, right. Yeah.
Like athletes, gen pop, like everyone's a human, right? And everyone has emotions. My job is, like, at the end of the day, like in a therapeutic relationship, I'm the guy in power. Like, I'm the one with like the resources, so I have to make sure that I give them that reassurance, meet them halfway, let them know. It's just genuinely because I care, and I still do. But it's little things for me, man. For example, like when I hired one of my employees last year, Jay, like, cool guy, man. But one of my first rules I said to him, and I don't have many, but it's never forget anyone's name. Like, and that's a big thing for me. Like, those little things, people notice. Remember their first name, remember their whole name. What do their kids do? How many kids do they have? How many pets do they have? You care that little bit, it makes your job so much easier. And it makes it genuine. So say, for example, if I see, like yesterday I saw 16 people, that 12-hour day still went like a click of the finger, because every interaction is like, like you and I can talk for an hour and a half. It'll feel like 20 seconds, when you care and you can give yourself, it makes everything else a lot easier. Like, compliance, like I said, becomes a lot easier when you genuinely connect with that person.
Because you still need them to do the work, right? 100%. So, you know what I mean? And I've seen people like redo ACLs and things, and honestly admit, like, man, I didn't go about it, you know what I mean, the way I should have and stuff. And then when they did, they helped it, they helped the situation. So
yeah, for real, like, I'm still very nice, don't get me wrong. I'm really happy, jolly in my sessions, but don't get me wrong, if people are not doing their things, I'm the first one to jump on their back. And still be really stern with it, like you said, like chameleon, different
people need that
different people things. Sometimes I'm like, hey, what the hell are you doing? Sometimes I'm like, hey, you're doing great. It is fun though. Like, you get to play different characters. You keep the crux of it the same. You still care.
What so how did the whole George Kambosos and, like, I don't even think I'm trying to think now. Maybe it's not even probably till kind of all that happened, and even the lead up, that even I think him himself would post things with you, you know what I mean, coming in for sessions and stuff. So at that point, like, I knew about all this, like Alan, everyone, like, all this, like, I knew about all of them, you know what I mean. But I never really I never knew that George used to come see you. How did that come about? And how did that kind of relationship? Because it's something that you said previously, man, which I can, like, I don't know about others, but that is what I see, which is I can see the genuine love and friendship they have for you, man. Like, even just the way they go about it and give you shit and, you know, and you guys fuck around with each other. And like, I could see that. And when I did something with Alan long ago and those guys, like, I was actually telling them, like Johnny, and I was like, man, it's like how I would treat like my family, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I was like, I could see that chemistry. So I already knew, like, I knew a lot of it is that there's genuine friendship, you know? So everything you say, that's what I could see, you know, and it is something nice to see, you know what I mean? But yeah, so how did that come about? Like, how did that relationship come about and how did it build? Yeah.
Awesome. Well, with George, it was like, it started with me. So me started working together because we were working on so many athletes dually connected. You know, Nelson, Tai, a few others. And then we got into a business relationship together. Like, we liaise as an affiliate with
Which
Team
is great,
Ethos,
by the way,
is,
man.
You know, and it's been great. You know, we work really well together. I have a lot of respect and love for me.
Yeah.
So that connection started with him. It's actually interesting. Like, he knew I worked with Tai and a lot of other high-level guys, Josh, Alan, all those guys. And then when I jumped on with me, he was like, hey, like, I really want George to work with you. And I'm like, that's hilarious, man. I've sent George like 6 messages. Like, I'll keep pestering him. And I'm like, hey, man, like, I can still help you. I know you live in my local area.
Yeah.
But then through Mir, I met George. And of course, like, you know, George and Mir have a really cool relationship.
Yeah.
Like, I think the way they have their relationship is how I would describe my relationship with maybe Josh. Josh Culibao and I met on a very, very interpersonal level.
Yeah.
And then him, Mir and George met exactly the same. Yeah. So I think a lot of George coming to me became, it's because Mir vouched for me.
Yeah, I've had Mir on, he's told the backstory to that, and it's very similar in the sense of how you know what I mean? Yeah,
like, so we started working together.
And
then he introduced me to George, and look, initially, like, I've been with him now, I think four or 5 camps, I think 4. But my role with George is very, like, minuscule. Like, I like working with George because it actually makes me like a clinician. When I'm needed, I'm really needed. And when I'm not needed, it's cool. You take a back seat, you're almost on standby, if I can say. Because what I love about George, he's the most, I guess, individual athlete out there. You tell him to do something, he will do it. Like, no stone unturned. And I really credit that to him. He doesn't need you on his back telling him to do the exact same things over and over again. So some camps, it's more of a luxury having me in, just to kind of feel good. Some camps, you know, some fights, the Teofimo fight, my role was a bit more significant. The latest David Haney fight, I wasn't really needed. And I can openly say that. And I think that's credit to George because he handles himself really, really well. And, you know, it's credit to the stuff he's doing with Mir as well. Keeps him fit, keeps him healthy. And it's George's mindset. He's a very individual athlete. Like, he's very autonomous. And I think a lot of athletes can learn that from him. Not needing too many people in your ear to tell you what to do. You hear it once, you're good. Move on. Like, keep at it.
And you reap the benefits, and you do see the benefits of it as time goes on. Yeah,
correct. And like, I really praise him for that. I've taken that away from, you know, working with him. It's a privilege, really. Like, and I just know in the back of my mind, like you said, there's a little bit of pressure here and there. When I'm needed with George, I'm needed. And I make sure, like, I switch on. Like, you know, people sometimes, you know, see me being so happy go Larry, like, I'm really fun. But don't get me wrong, man. Like, when it comes to work, like, I switch on, I get my job done. Like, and that's really important to, like, know when to, I guess, where to put that boundary, right? Like, you can still be professional, you can still be, you know, fun, but you still got a job to do.
Yeah, job to do, 100%.
And look, I still make sure that job still gets done. I'm very, lack of a better word, anal with that. Outcomes are still outcomes. That still has to happen.
What was your mindset like, man, when the world title fight happened and just the, you know, the circus around it, and you know what I mean? And like, everyone has a role to play, right?
Yeah.
And everyone has their own pressures. And like, that's another level, like, man, for a brown brother from, you know, trying to get into medicine to, like, you know, or you know, parents wanting him to get into medicine to this, to, like, you know, going a different route. And, you know, you could say whatever you want, you could, you know, whether you're born in this country or not, but like, obviously, you know, we have our own hurdles, right? And dealing with, you know, especially me being a bit older, like, you gotta kind of weave and earn that respect. Like, me doing what I do, that's what motivates me, you know what I mean? Because, like, when I started doing kickboxing and stuff, it was like impossible, like, to even associate brown kids doing martial arts. And I used to have guys that used to start be like, yo, bro, you're like the only guy that does it. You know what I mean? Like, there's probably like heaps. You know what I mean? Like, but what I mean is, even just, you know, like it's different. You always, I feel like you got to prove, and I felt like that moment, like in my eyes, was as someone that you know, supports you know, their fellow brothers and sisters in that sense, right? Was like a big moment, man. Like, you know, in the sense, like, even for the role that you play, that's the creme de la, man. That's a big moment, you know what I mean? And with that comes that pressure as well, you know what I mean? That you want to ensure, like, that whatever your role has, you know, that you got to play, like, you do it to the absolute, you know, maximum, right? Like, what was it like for you, man? Because that was an amazing moment, by the way, bro. And like, just to be part of that, you know what I mean? And in doing something that you're passionate about as well, and to be able to be part of such a big experience, man.
It really was, man. Such a highlight for me, professionally, personally. Like, I'm a boxing fan too, right? Like, being involved was crazy. But I guess with that fight, man, it was almost like there were so many hurdles just for George in general. Like, if things actually went to a plan from the get-go, I actually wouldn't have been involved, because that fight was meant to happen in June of 2020, 2020, I believe it was, or 2021. He was in Miami for his camps. That's where he was doing his camps. And I think Teofimo got COVID in June or July, that first fight. That fight got rescheduled so many times. George had to fly back to Australia. We started working together. He was doing his camp back in Australia. And then it was meant to happen for September, October. And then, like, yeah, like I said, that camp had a lot more to do with it. There was a lot more, like, interplay with my role. And don't get me wrong, there's a little bit of pressure there, right? Like, it's
of course,
to make
man.
sure, like, he's looked after.
Of course.
But again, testament to him. I can't take credit for it. Obviously, I treated him for, like, a few things going on. I won't spare the details of it, but
a
couple of injuries that he was dealing with that I definitely helped with.
Yeah.
And, like, it was cool because bit by bit, step by step, I could see, like, the little adjustments he was making in training to make sure the injury wasn't getting worse. We would work on it, like, religiously. He would listen. Me would work on plans to make sure things were getting strong. And, you know, bit by bit, like, I only flew in November because the borders opened in November. That fight was meant to happen in October. Got rescheduled again. Triller got taken off it. And then Matchroom come on. And then...
Some like, shenanigans behind it, eh, bro?
Like rescheduled like 10 times. We weren't meant to fly. It was November. And I was like, you know what? I was sitting with George one day, like, in clinic. And I was like, dude, like, you're flying in 2 weeks. He's like, yeah. I'm like, I might come. He goes, yeah, bro, come. I'm like, all right. I went that day, booked my ticket. Like, and yeah, man, like, the rest is history. Like, we're in New York all of a sudden. Like, it's fight week. I'm like, holy shit. And the fight comes, and then, man, like, when he dropped him with that first right hand, like, for one, as a fan, I was like, shit. But then as a clinician, I was like, fuck, yes.
That would have been a crazy moment for you to see it live, man. Holy shit. Because I remember how I reacted. I couldn't imagine what it's like fucking being right there, bro.
The best part about it was, like, so, like, the team gets, I think Jim, his father, would have got like some allocated tickets, right? And I got great tickets, man. Like, I was, like, right next to it. But most of our team, which was like, you know, 15, 16 people that had flown over from Sydney, were on one side of the corner.
Oh, nice.
Man, I was by myself.
Oh, yeah?
I was by myself with, like, another person that had got a ticket. And I was in, like, the heart of, like, the Latinos. Like, all, like, TFB's fans, like, all these...
This story took a fucking side turn, bro.
All these Dominicans, all these Puerto Ricans. And I was like, nah, fuck these guys. And then, like, TFM walked out, like, in the whole fight week. Like, it was so interesting. This guy always says he was born in Brooklyn. He had no one with him at all events. We had all 15, 20 of us there. And, like, we were all really, like, really loud, really rowdy throughout the whole thing, which was cool. But then when fight day came in, like, obviously George walked out. And then everyone booed him, and you started feeling like the Hulu Theater is like it's almost like Rod Laver. It's really like closed in.
Okay.
So you feel everything.
Yeah.
He walked out, you're like, okay, shit, you're in enemy territory.
Yeah.
And Teofimo walked out, and it was just Latinos everywhere, man. Like, they were loving it. I was like, oh shit. And then, like, they were like the first round, Teofimo came out really hard, and the whole crowd was like losing it because he wasn't hitting Georgie, but he was throwing that right hand over and over and over again. And, like, you know, everyone's like around me, like, yeah, you're gonna sleep him, this, that. And all of a sudden, George pulls out that right hand, and that crowd went silent.
Yeah.
I remember there's a video of me, like, I got a video, and then, like, it's of him dropping that right hand, and I'm just in the background losing my mind. It was crazy, man. It was awesome.
That moment is just, you know what, man, in some terms, it's such a iconic moment for, like, even Aussie boxing, because it was just, as soon as that happened, it's like, the confidence, even just for fans, like I was like, yo, he's like, you know, this is gonna be, you know, like it's good, he's on, like he's fucking, this is gonna be like one of the, like regardless of whatever, just the story, it writes itself, you know what I mean, in the grand scheme of things, when you look at just even boxing, Australian boxing, even George, his journey, and like, you know what I mean, like it's just, it was such a big moment. Yeah, man, like, so was New York that famous, like where the video where the back and forth? Fuck. Yeah. Let me tell you something, man. Like, I don't know if anyone's told you this, but this is honestly that moment, that even just what the boys did and whatnot, like it reminded me of the bus attack with Connor and Khabib.
Bro, it was so
bro,
cool,
like talk about that incident. It was fucking hilarious, man. Right? Yeah. So and you were in the thick of it. Like, you know what I mean? I was laughing. I was like, imagine what it's like for him, bro, just being right there. But it was good banter. But like, obviously, you know, it started off with banter, right? Essentially. Yeah.
It's pretty funny, man. So like, that was the same day that everyone flew in. So we flew in, I think it was a Tuesday, something like that. And then George flew in the morning, we flew into the hotel, like, we got media workout at 4, whatever. Yeah. And man, I'm a boxing fan. Like, media workouts, I'm like, shit, hectic.
Fuck yeah.
So where we were, like, so our hotel was really close to the MSG.
Yeah.
And the media workout was, you know, walking distance. So walking as a team, right? And I remember this so vividly. George looked back at us and goes, hey, boys, like, you know, be prepared. I'm like, be prepared? Yeah. The fuck for? He's like, shit might, like, go off. I'm like, relax, it'll be fine. So we're in this gym, and then, like, you walk in, like, again, I'm a little bit, like, starstruck. You can't act it, right? Yeah. You got, like, you know, TV filmer giving, like, interviews in the corner of the gym. Yeah. Like, George jumps in, starts doing his skipping. And, like, I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, this is sick, man. Like, I get to watch, you know, a client, a friend do his thing at, you know, in New York. Like, how surreal is it? Sometimes you got to pinch yourself.
100%.
And we're a very small team, so they gave us our little section, right? And then I was next to, like, I think it was Bilal Akawi. And we're next to each other, and there was a security guard next to us as well. And then, like, George doing his thing, and all I hear in, like, the corner of my ear is, like, I look to my right, he goes, you know, Kambosos, like, you won't get knocked the fuck out. And it was TFM senior, right? Yeah. I turn around, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't realize how close he was. All of a sudden, like, 2 seconds later, I blink, and then I see Jim, like, holding him by the throat, right? And he's, like, throwing him. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? And, like, everyone starts pushing each other, right? And I'm like, shit, I got to push someone too. I pushed the guy next to me, and then I'm like, shit, that's our security guard. I'm so sorry. So I got to get involved somehow. I get involved, I push the guy, and then right in front of me, I like exactly where you are right now, I look straight ahead, and this big, like, black box, and it was the camera. And I'm like, shit.
Oh.
I'm like, fuck. Like, it's going to come out. And then, like, everything finished, like, everything piped down afterwards. And then what happened was, like, literally, man, we walked back after that walkout. Like, you know, George did some media work. Everyone's giving interviews. We hung around for, like, maybe, like, 40 minutes. And then, like, Matchroom was pretty cool. Every time they took photos and stuff, like, they sent it to George that same night. Like, nice. all that cool stuff.
Nice.
We walked back, and, like, we would have, like, team dinners at the diner downstairs. We're having a diner, and then Matchroom had uploaded this YouTube video of Carnage in New York. That was the headline. Oh, right. And it was of, like, Jim holding Tio's senior by the throat. Yeah. And then it cuts to the middle, right? And it's me. And I open my phone, bro. Like, I'm international roaming, right? So I don't, like, switch on my data or anything. I go back to the hotel, put on my Wi-Fi. I come back, bro. I go to my Instagram, and it's just, like, 40 DMs. I'm like, fuck, what happened? And the first thing I see was me mentioned during their story. I'm like, this fucker. And then this guy just took the piss out of me for like 5 stories. And I'm like, oh no, this is not good.
Honestly, bro, when I jumped on,
it was hilarious.
And bro, story to story to story, I was fucking cracking up, bro. I was like, this was literally all the bait that they, like, it was,
100%.
I knew the moment. I was like, bro, these boys are going to go to town with this, man. Yeah.
You know what? The best thing, like, we went back to the diner and, like, bro, George got these photos from, like, the professional photographers. I'm so glad he's never released them.
It's actually
it's so bad, bro. Like, all these guys are, like, mean mugging them in the background, like,
maybe like 10, 20 year anniversary, George can release it, bro.
Like, everyone's, like, in the background, like, all angsty, like, all angry, and I'm sitting there with my mouth open, like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, that's hilarious. Now,
it was so funny, man. It was hilarious.
Yeah, bro. It was just it was a crazy moment, but yeah, just to see you in the middle of it, man. I was like, man, so I'm gonna ask that story for sure.
And all my boys took the piss out of me, man, for weeks. Bro.
Yeah, bro. I was like, that is just like all the content they need, bro, for a while. So, What's your vision like for yourself, bro? Like, obviously, you know, being only 27, bro, like, man, so much ahead. Like, is it like, are you in the space? You just keep building in the space that you're in, and, you know, being able to keep helping people, helping athletes. You know, is that something that you vision for? Like, is there something that now that you've kind of been in the game, is there something you vision for yourself?
For sure, like, I definitely want to be around for like more of my fighters, enjoy their wins as well, enjoy their processes, keep building and looking after more and more. I myself am building, like, obviously our own team, clinical team, like a lot of, like, you know, for example, Jay I mentioned before, he's interested in combat sports, so I get to pass on my knowledge to him. I think the next step in my professional career is obviously expanding our business as much as we can, helping as many fighters as we can, but I'd like to get into the sector of education. So I feel like I can give back to more clinicians that way. You know, because combat sports is one of those things. It's almost like the next rugby league, man. Like, you know, you said you got kids, like, you know, when they're 4, 5, 6, you'll get them into boxing, into jiu-jitsu, into some form of combat sport. And like I said, like when I first started my journey, even now, man, like I'd say in Sydney, there's no one really doing what I'm doing or what we're doing. I know the combat sports on a clinical level isn't really studied. So I feel like, obviously I've got the resume behind me now. I get to give back a little bit. I wanted to provide more of like like my ethos behind treating athletes. This is what you can do better, you know, because being a physio still, like, it's a lot of physios know how to be good physios, like good clinician. They just don't know how to put it together. So I can help them with that in the realm of combat sports. So I'd say that's my next vision. That's my next step, as well as I can, you know, still be around and still give all my best to all my athletes for sure.
Because I mean, even just physios, bro, even in that space, it's not like your typical job, you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, I could just go and just get through my day and then like get paid, and you know what I mean? It requires a little bit more, you know what I mean? Like, you can't, you know, if you're just dragging yourself around and whatever, people aren't going to want to come to you, bro. 100%. You get what I'm saying? Which is what you're dependent on, is to build that, you know, like build different clients and, you know, etc. So I feel like it's always, you know, you have the ones that stand out are the ones that always, like I said, extras, bro. Like, you know, just building a relationship and things like that, and actually putting in effort, bro. You know what I mean? Correct. Because to some degree, bro, like you're almost like someone they're gonna see a lot more than a lot of other people in their lives. You know what I mean? Sure. You know.
Well, that's our literally like our one of our business ethos, man. It's like, you know, culture, community, authenticity. Like when I look at a client, I don't look at him as like a dollar value for 5 sessions. It's a lifelong thing. Like my favorite thing about being a physio isn't like the money I get or anything like that. It's I get to be a part of someone's journey for however long, and that's really cool to me. I get to write my own story with that. Speaking more about physios, like we have the highest, you know, dropout rate of all professions, man.
Really?
Yeah, man. Like it's actually quite.
What's
sad.
What's the basis behind?
5 years.
Well, is there like? Have they said like?
It's literally what you said.
Oh, okay.
It's a lot of people get into our industry, like, you know, from the get go, you're literally expected to be, you know, the creme de la creme, like you said. You need like 98, 99 to get in. You study for 4 years, and it's man, if you graduate as a physio, you're a very smart person. You're an intellectual. But they don't realize the hustle's involved, especially in private practice. Because like you said, people are paying money. Like no one wants to deal with the guy who's treating the job like a 9 to 5. Like that's why the burnout rate's so high. Is people, because they realize like for you to actually stay long in the game, you have to care. And a lot of people just don't. No discredit to them. I just don't think they teach you that in uni. That expectation isn't given to you. Like, hey, like for you to be successful in this, like
it's never just the skills, right? It's like in anything, right? 100%. It's all the other things that make up it as a whole. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And for sure, like I said, like for me, like a lot of my effort. Don't get me wrong. I'm always clinically trying to get better. I always try to learn different things, injury healing times, whatever. Like what I can help clinically. Again, to me, that's easy. That's easy as reading a paper, but I put all of my eggs in the basket of how do I develop my skills with people. The more they trust me, the more compliance there'll be, and the better they'll get. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of physios can do that better.
Yeah.
For sure.
it was like probably the biggest story in the last couple of months, man. Your boxing experience, right? That just came fucking left field. I'm like, you just dropped the fucking thing. You're like, what? I'm like, what? But I know you got a mutual friend, Johnny, Mr. Johnny Barabana, bro. Absolute OG, bro. I fucking love him. He's a good bloke, and
Great
it's
coach.
so good to bro. Great coach. I actually hit him up last week and said I got to get you back on. He's definitely an alumni, bro. He pops by, and we always have good chats. How did that, like, was it just training with him, and like how did the interest come in, and you wanting to kind of jump in
back.
and have a go?
Well, back in the day, like I said, like I did a lot of Muay Thai. I did a few development days in Muay Thai. I've competed before, and I've been working with Johnny. Like, it hasn't been like, I say consistently, but I've never had like the competition outlook. For a couple of years now, and like, to be honest, like my skills are there. I love boxing. Like I said, I'm a big boxing fanatic. I think after my job, I give a lot to people. It's a big part of my day I'm giving to everyone else, and I love it. I don't, I'm never going to complain about it. I'm very blessed.
You need time for yourself, man.
But man, like this fight was for me. Like I finally got to do something like just purely for me. And look, if I look at my last 12 to 18 months, there's so much that happened. Inspiration from George winning in New York. I got to be in Paris with Tai, which to me was honestly awesome. Seeing George do his second fight with Devin inspired that again. And then it's actually pretty funny how it came around. I was just hitting pads with Johnny one day, and he's been working with Luke Jackson. And Luke Jackson came and said, "Man, you're looking good." I'm like, "Thanks, man." And Johnny's like, "Yeah, he's going to fight." I was like, "I am?" He goes, "Yeah, there's one in 4 weeks. You want to do it?" I was like, "Oh, yeah."
Oh, so you didn't even decide?
I was like, "Oh, okay." He goes, "Yeah, I'll put you in." And then I just thought he was taking the piss. And that same night, he goes, "Hey, I need XYZ from me." I was like, "Shit."
Nice. Johnny's a legend,
fucking
bro.
Serious, bro. I was like, "All right, game on." But the thing is, I'm really happy that I did it, only because, like, for one, I took time to myself, but it was a challenge doing it, man. Like, in that time frame that all happened, Jay went over to Korea, so he was on 4 weeks of leave. Dude, I was doing all the business stuff myself.
Shit.
So, like, I'm training twice a day. Like, I had to drop 8 kilos in 4 weeks. And like, that was hard. Caloric deficit. I'm seeing 60 to 70 people a week. Still giving my best. Still
all
training.
burns energy, bro.
Man, and then getting to that day, it was cool, man. Like, it was really, really fun. And the fight itself, like, it was cracker. Like, I lost a decision, and it was a very close decision. Great fight. It was actually pretty.
But the first one's always just fuck, man. The result doesn't matter as much as the fact that fuck, I did it. Like, I got here, I did it. You know what I mean? And just experiencing it. And then after that, it's like, all right, man. Like, you're like, fuck, the urge to be better, and then all that comes into it. But the first time is always different, bro. It's just it's like, it's live, you know what I mean? You're going live, you know what I mean? All the training, all this, whatever it is that you go through. But yeah, it's just such a crazy experience, especially if you've always thought about it and always wanted to. And yeah, man.
Yeah, I definitely loved it. Like, it's given me a lot of empathy for my guys as well. And at the end of the day, at the heart of it, I'm still a competitor myself. It was lovely to get back in there, man. Really
and get that time for yourself, for sure, man. I didn't know you were in Paris with Tai for, well, how was that? Is that for the Surugan fight?
That was for the Surugan fight. And like, I think that to me was,
had you been to Paris before and stuff,
never,
or not?
Never.
No.
My first time in Europe. So like that all came about. Like that one was special to me because like I've worked with George for a few camps and like it was great seeing him win world titles, but I've been with Tai since the start of my career. So like, people don't know this about Tai, but if you think about what he's done, when he got into the UFC, he won 3 fights in a row. They put him up against, JDS, big fight, lost that, lost 3 in a row. And like, shit gets tough when you lose 3 in a row. And like, as a friend, as a therapist, I got to see some dark things that people never saw. So when I got to, it was pretty iconic, man. When I was in Paris, all I could think about was, he was doing a camp in Newcastle, Merryweather, to prepare for Stefan Struve. That was the start of his 5-fight win streak before Cyril Gane. Like, I still remember those days. Like, that was a hard camp. Like, as a friend, as a professional, I've been there with him through some dark moments. So to then be halfway across the world, when he got announced he's going to headline Paris, I was like, there's no way I'm missing this. Like, because, I'm not to say that I take no credit for what he's done. He's the OG for doing all of that. But I wanted to experience that with him.
But you've been a part of that journey, bro.
Man,
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Like,
it doesn't matter what part you play. You've been part of that journey.
100%.
You know what I mean?
So that was special to me. Like, and seeing, bro, that fight, that whole night, I've not been to a more electric crowd.
Yeah.
Like, that was the first fight in Paris, in France ever for MMA, because it was like illegal a few years ago.
Yeah.
And then like when he came out to like a cauldron, you know. Even like everyone loves Tai, but they hated him at that moment.
Yeah, of course.
And that first round, they started singing the French national anthem, and it was crazy. And then by the end of it, they were giving him his props. And man, I thought he'd done it. Like he dropped him with him. He dropped that right hand on him in that second round.
It's a brutal game, bro. As much as it goes your way, it can go away from you as well. You know what I mean? Correct. But going back to what you're saying about Tai, 100%, man. Like, people, bro, they don't understand. Like they don't and we live in such a result-driven world that it's almost like disrespectful that, you know, people don't even understand. Like, if someone takes a hard L or whatever it is, like, it's almost like not even just written off. It's like irrelevant. Like, but they never realize how driven people are to turn the corner, and you know what I mean? Like, it's almost disrespectful, and it's also sometimes it comes from people that haven't genuinely done this, but don't realize it's all the little things, bro. Like I said, it's not just skills, it's how you balance your life, it's your lifestyle, how, you know, what you let, you know, your diet, like they talk about your diet, like what you let in, who you have around, you know what I mean? All those things. And sometimes if those things aren't aligned, it doesn't matter if you're going to the gym and putting in work. You know what I mean? It's all these things that make up how your body feels. Like we talk about myself. Like, you know what I mean? Affects my mood, bro. Like, you know, you have a shit day when it's like, you know, it's just like all those little things. Like if your body ain't aligned, all those things, you know. So sometimes it takes a while to figure out what works for you, or, you know, sometimes things that have been working for you, you know, you might need something else, you know what I mean? But yeah, the way they write people off when they you know what I mean? It's and he's like the way he came back, put those fights together, bro, and even just the way he went about it and the excitement behind it. Like, people having fucking shoeies now, bro, you know?
He's the man.
And yeah, where the fuck's the credit, bro? Yeah. I know they say, oh yeah, but nah, man, like they should be giving him a lot more credit, because even the other athletes and all, or other fighters, and even the people that do it, don't turn around and, you know, can't even salute him for the fact that, you know what I mean, he started a fucking trend, whether you agree with it or not, the hygiene behind it or whatever. But but does not fucking get the credit, man. You know what I mean? People know, the real people will know. But nah, man, from a commercial level, like, dude, like, just the way he, you know, entertained us and put it all together, bro. Like, he's an entertainer at heart too, man. You know 100%. What I mean? And
he's a competitor.
And a competitor. That's what I mean. He's
people don't see that side of him. Like, I know, like, a lot of the time he'll be out there and say, like,
he's a freak athlete, man.
Oh, he's so good. Yeah, he used to play for the Roosters.
I know.
Like, you know, we make fun of him, but he used to be like a New South Wales swimmer too. Yeah. Like, shit. That always fucks with me. Like, we always like talk about athletic achievements because I swim well. I'm like, I can never believe that.
That's crazy.
Big fucking.
But he's definitely, bro. Yeah, man. He's an athlete, bro. He's an athlete. Like, yeah, there's no doubt about it. Yeah.
Well, to your point, like he said, you know, he said this to me. He said, Rup, whenever you have a bad day at work for me, I can come back tomorrow and I can do it again. He gets 15 minutes every 12 to 16 weeks.
Damn.
And that's, if you put that in perspective, like, that's fucking scary. So that's why sometimes I don't like the fight fans, because I don't see that. Like, exactly what you said. Like, he gets 15 minutes to put it on show. Some days it goes together, some days it doesn't. It's not a reflection of who you are as an individual. And like you said, the real ones know. Win, lose, draw, like, as a team, as a friend, you still have love for them. And I think that's important for fighters to know. Like, don't bank everything on a win or a loss. Like, it's all about the journey.
And it's tough, man. It's tough. Yeah. It's tough not to. Like, it's, you know what I mean?
Of course. You're competitors. You still want to win.
100%. Yeah. But yeah, man. Oh, that's crazy. I didn't even know you were there. So that's, bro, you man, fuck, it's not bad, bro.
Last 18 months.
I didn't even want to know what the next 10 years is gonna look like, bro. You're gonna have a fucking heart attack by the time you be like, you know. Hopefully. But it must be amazing, bro. You know, it must be amazing for you, bro. Like, even just to, and you know, there's no doubt in my mind you put in the work as well, you know, which is even more amazing. And you know, like that's why I started this, man. You know, that's why, like, you know, you know, my vision for what I'm doing, but like I want guys like Johnny, like I mean him just even working with Conor Ben, like that's why I said to him, I'm like, yo, I can't wait to catch up with you, you know what I mean, and just talk, because in my eyes, bro, like what are you really measuring success to? Because in my eyes, I'm fucking seeing some people do some crazy shit just because they don't have, you know, what other people's vision of what success is, or how you're meant to show it, or how you're meant to, you know, reflect it, doesn't mean they're not, you know, like, you know, it's those little moments, bro, that like for me that get me the most. Is just, you know, like even seeing your journey and talking about the whole, you know, the New York incident, you know, just like putting myself in your shoes, like it's special, man. It's fucking special. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to be able to experience it, to be able to even do it through something you love doing, you know what I mean? And being able to actually experience it and enjoy it and see it firsthand, and playing a part, you know what I mean? That's amazing, man. Like, you know, in my eyes anyway. And, yeah, man, like, I mean, like I say, we can probably go on and on and on about it, but it's, you know, that's why, like, for me, I started this, man, because I was like, fuck, you share these stories, bro, and that's not just you, like anybody. Someone's always got something that's gonna something to say that's gonna stick by you. You know what I mean, or help you in some way. You know what I mean?
Like when you read a book,
yeah, whatever it is, yeah, man, yeah. You know, and I think people need to realize that you need to reimagine what success really is, because it's not what they sell it to be, you know what I mean? Like in my eyes, there's so many people doing successful things, and it's also important to tell the story that, you know, how they went about it. You know, it's real work, but you also, you know, you realize you may resonate with these people in how they went about it or how they thought, and you realize, man, these people aren't, you know, successful people aren't like untouchable, unreachable.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like that's how I grew up, and that's what was kind of filled in me, is like when you think success, you think, and it's also sometimes you got to battle the environment you're in and the people you're around. You know what I mean? Because people have known you, you know, some people would have known you from childhood, or like, you know, in your prime, like teenage lives, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you kind of get brainwashed on the idea of what success is, but bro, like, you're a definition of success, and there's so much more for you to do, and there's no doubt in my mind, like you said, you know what I mean? But in my eyes, like, just for you to be able to experience these moments, they're high big moments, man. They're not everyone, if any, will be able to really experience it that way. You know what I mean?
I agree. I think I'm really blessed. Like, for me, success is about fulfillment. Yeah. Like, I get to have all my cups full, you know, like I get to experience the journey. I get to celebrate wins, and my profession, like, I don't just call my job a job, man. Like, it ticks off so many boxes for me. I get to connect with people, I get to connect with yourself. There's so many other advantages to it. I get to network. You know, combat sports, I love combat athletes, like helping them. But obviously, as an adjunct, I'm a combat fan. I get to experience all those things, the highs, the lows, whatever it is. I love everything about it. And that's success to me. It's about fulfillment of all of those things. But yeah, I think for me, I love doing exactly what I do, but I give as much intent and care to like up and coming amateurs and low level professionals that I do to the high level guys. And I think that's really important as well, is to stay true to yourself no matter who comes through your door. Because, you know, I could be looking after an 18-year-old today, and then he or she could do big things in 6-7 years.
100%.
You know, like
100%. And it all starts there, man.
100%.
It all starts there. You know what I mean? And you never know how much what you do or the relationship you have with someone or what you tell them. Like, I see like all the young guys in the gym, bro, I ain't a world champion or whatever like that, but I've trained for, you know, more than 10, you know, 13, 14 years. Like,
counts for something.
And being, you know, I've always been blessed to be around high level athletes. So like I always used to say, fuck, I'm an amateur that gets to train like a pro, because I just, like I said, follow their lead. It's so easy, you know what I mean? But like, you know, I never really talk to them about, I never say like, you know, about training hard or anything like that. It's, you know, you got to just show them, yo, like, you're going to have your moments. You're going to have your moments where you're like, fuck, why am I doing this? Or, you know what I mean? And just let them know the reality that it's okay to feel like that. You know what I mean? Because you are going to have those moments. You are going to have those moments like, fuck, what am I doing this for? Or, you know, maybe I'm not good enough, or, you know, but it all starts with the young, you know what I mean? Because for me, I've always looked at combat sports and, you know, I am that typical story of how it changed my life. You know what I mean? It did. Like, I found it from a bad place by a friend who just told me, yo, come try this kickboxing thing out. And then, you know, like, it gave me discipline, it gave me focus. And then, you know, the lessons I learned from it, like from boxing, I implemented into my life. There's literally what I do. Like, I everything that I do, I go with that mentality of consistency. You know what I mean? Consistency. You're gonna have bad days, you're gonna have good days, but you gotta fucking stay consistent. You know,
100%.
People are gonna drop, you know, say no. You know, people are gonna cancel on you. Then it's like, how badly do you want it? Are you gonna fucking sit here and quit, or are you gonna, you know, keep moving? You know what I mean? And those are the things you say people don't see. But bro, I've had like people cancel on me 3 times in a row. You know what I mean? 24 hours before. You know what I mean? And those moments, they're testing times, because you're like, fuck, do I really want to? You know, I do. You know, that's why I keep going. You know what I mean? You know, because I do want to keep doing it. You know what I mean? Because I do believe in what I'm trying to do. So, you know, I think, you know, like for me with combat sports, it's so much more to still go in terms of just the sport, and, you know, even just the money side of things, and the theater. Like, it's theater, bro. It's fucking modern day gladiators.
It really is, man.
Like, and it's the ones that like, and you know, that's why I got to give credit to like No Limit, like, you know, their promotion, because they were one of the first ones that when I started watching them, started to really understand the theater behind, you know, it's not just the fight, it's everything around it. It's the build up, it's, you know, the theater that goes into those two guys by the time they step in. You know, UFC does a great job. Like, that's what I say, like, WWE fucking set the standard, bro. You know what I mean? For everything, like whether anyone wants to go or it's fake or whatever, but the theater behind it and how they promote it, bro. Like, Dana White openly says he learned a lot from, you know, Vince McMahon. Like, and I feel like once that starts happening, which is starting to happen now with a lot of high level athletes locally, like being able to have that platform, that show where the theater is built around their fights, I think it'll help grow the sport. You know what I mean? But I've just been blessed to be able to be around professional scene, like the week in, week out, and experience it with them, and realize, like, mentally, like, how, you know, how strong you got to be, bro. Even through the toughest of days, like, you know, there's going to be days where you're like, fuck this, you know what I mean? And what am I doing it for? Or the lows, and you know what I mean? Like you said, the highs, you know, like, but that, it does something to you, bro. Like, you know, you take that to life, and it makes you strong in even the decisions and other little visions and goals that you're doing. It just gave me that focus, you know what I mean? And that's why for me, I started off talking to a lot of athletes, you know what I mean, fighters, because I got to really see what they go through, and the week in and week out, and a lot of times, bro, you're not even feeling 100%, if any, like, you know what I mean, your body's 100%. Fucking crumbling on you, you're like, you know what I mean, and you're turning, you know, and you still got to turn up, bro, but it's something about that whole journey, bro, what it does to you, you know what I mean, mentally, spiritually, yeah. That's why I asked you about how your experience was, because you know, I think until you do it, you don't really realize, like, man, whoa, like it's a crazy feeling, like, you know. Yeah,
consistency is king with all that kind of stuff, right? Like, I think what separates great, successful people or fighters from, like, let's say good or average is consistency. Like, what I learned about myself in the fight was, like, I'm still very skillful in the gym, and I was like, shit, man, I already feel like, as soon as the fight started, I felt so handicapped. So many of my skills went out the window. It wasn't like a brawl or anything, but I'm like, holy shit. I was like, whoa, the tunnel vision.
And it's different when you have someone else that's not a heavy bag, or that's, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like that, you know, especially when they make you miss, and or when you miss, and like you realize, like, yo, it's a false perception when you're in the gym training hard, and you're like, fuck, I feel good, and then you know, that's like just like even sparring, and you get a spar and you realize, damn, bro, I always tell people, bro, there's fit, and then there's fight fit. 100%. Fight fit is that little icing on the top in the last 6, 7, you know, that all that hard sparring and everything, you know, you know, like there's just that 2 levels. Like, you could be really fit, but that fight fit is different. You know what I mean? That's always told. Like, a big thing I tell my athletes is, actually, I'm really big on this, is like, with fighing as well, you're only at the peak, or like you're only peaking for like a couple of weeks. I'm sure you're the same, man. Like, I could have 2 weeks and feel cracker inspiring. The next week I'll get bashed. Like, what the fuck happened, right? Like, how? What happened? What changed? So I always tell people, I'm like, the same energy you give to like how you feel bad, you must match with your positivity. So like, you know, I know so many people like
I'm sure when you have a bad day, you look into so many different things of like, man, I'm so shit. I can't do this, whatever. So much energy gets spent on that. But it's so interesting that when something goes well, people don't even bat an eyelid. They're like, yeah, that's meant to happen. Nah, like celebrate it. Like give the exact, you got to savor that because that's not going to last. Like in 2 weeks time, you're going to get bashed again.
100%.
So like that's a really big thing I tell a lot of my athletes, especially with rehab, right? Like when things are going well, it's as expected. When you take one step back, people lose their minds. And I'm like, relax. Like, look at the big picture, perspective. Yeah.
That's yeah, man. It's a wild journey, bro.
I love it.
But Rup, bro, I really appreciate you coming, man. I really do. I was fucking excited to talk to you.
Thank you.
Honestly, man, I fucking mean it. It's it's good to see what you've done with yourself. Shout out to Resh as well. Always been a big supporter of mine, and so good to see, what he's been able to build as well. I've always told him as well, but yeah, like, man, honestly, it's, there's so much more to go, but just to see a fellow brother as well,
Thank you.
Might be different countries and shit, but we're from the same fucking region, bro. You know what I mean?
Same color.
Same color, but it is, bro. It is, it's honestly, it's amazing to see, bro, what you've been able to experience already. And I know, bro, we'll have many chats, bro, in the future now, like, but keep doing your thing, bro. Keep inspiring, even if that's not what your intent is. That is what you're doing. And, man, who knows? More of those New York scenario. I'll tell you something. You'll be ready this time, bro. When George turns around and tells you, be ready, you'll be like, all right, I'm fucking ready. You're not gonna be like, be ready for what? But bro, I appreciate it, my man. Honestly, it means a lot, bro.